Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Melissa Houston, who's the founder of the Fractional CFO Agency. Melissa, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I love whenever I do, the intros here, and it's like, that sounds cool, because I love, fractional CMO, the chief marketing officer. So, the fractional chief financial officer agency. I'm excited to talk to you about that because these days, it's such a trend to be nimble and lean, and maybe you don't want to have the bloat of hiring, various positions. So having that remote fractional CFO, I know, is a really popular thing. So I'm excited to learn about your business, but get us started with, give us a little bit of your background and what your entrepreneurial journey's been like to this point in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a chartered professional accountant. I have been in accounting for over 20 years, and I initially started out, working in high tech, and I've had various types of industry experience. I've worked in large accounting firms. And one thing that I really noticed when I was working with my clients, who were mostly small to medium-sized business clients or project managers, is there was a real lack of understanding their business numbers, right? And knowing your business numbers is such an important part of being a business owner that I felt that I needed to get out there and help business owners understand the importance of why they need to know their numbers. So I decided to branch out on my own. And now, as you mentioned, I work as a fractional CFO. And not only am I doing a done-for-you service, but I also offer business owners coaching on this because it's so important to know your numbers and understand how you create profit in your business.
It's more. It goes beyond more than like what you hear on or see on Shark Tank. Like, know your numbers, know your numbers. It's you got to know the numbers, and then you got to know what's behind the numbers. Right. I mean, like I can memorize a bunch of numbers right now, but what did it take to create that number? And then what is the cascading effect of that number on the rest of the business? And that's a trick, because I'll tell you, I've got an MBA in marketing and I got straight A's in my program 10, 12 years ago. But the only class I got a B in was corporate finance. So me and numbers don't get along well. So I know that having someone from the outside looking in to say, oh, here's a number, here's what it means we should be doing moving forward, and that's a huge benefit.
Exactly. You're totally speaking my language, right? Because it's like it helps you understand how your business generates that profit, which is extremely important when you're a business owner, because the profit is what you get to keep at the end of the day.
Yes. So let's talk about that. And I know the answer to this, but I want to get your perspective. What's better, revenue or profit or top line? Because I think a lot of people, go, oh, well, we did $1 million last year. Well, that's all fine and good. But what if you had 1.2 million in expenses? Then that's not all that great.
Exactly. And I love this question. It has to be one of my favorite questions because you're exactly right. There's so much misinformation out there about revenue numbers. And revenue, I mean, I've heard that expression where, revenue is the vanity number, where profit is really what is important. So in my opinion, you could be making $1 million of sales. And like you said, if you're not bringing home profit at the end of the day, then what's the point? Because if your expenses are exceeding the revenue that you're bringing in, ultimately you will go bankrupt. Your business will go bankrupt. And I have seen this happen over the 20-year course of my career. I've seen it many times where business owners do go bankrupt, even though they're bringing millions of dollars a year.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, last night we were, my family and I were watching the latest episode of Shark Tank, and here is this person that had multiple millions of dollars in revenue the previous year. And people that are Shark Tank are typically, newer. And so you're like, oh, wow, millions. And they're like, are you profitable? No, not yet. And you're going, how in the world? And I think that too many times people focus on that top line number because that's
Yeah.
That's a measure of your value. So you got to have the numbers and the revenues coming in. But boy, if you've got holes in that bucket, what good is it? I mean, you literally are going to run yourself ragged, A, and B, you're going to go out of business like you just said. So what is some of the first steps that when you start working with a company, when you notice these things, what's the first step that you start looking at to adjust?
Yeah, one of the KPIs I find really important to measure is the profit margin, right? Because not all profit is created equal. So when you know your profit margins, and even especially if you're in the growth phase and you're not growing, staying consistent, like keeping your consistent margin or profit margins, then ultimately it takes you a lot more work to create that profit, right? So if your profit margins are dropping, you're working harder to get that profit in the door. So it's really important to monitor those profit margins to make making money as effective and streamlined and efficient as possible.
Yeah.
So when I work with clients too, what I always find the most valuable activity is to create a financial plan that projects out 12 months in advance. It's going to show them where they are now and where they want to be in 12 months, right? And create that roadmap on how to get there. So it breaks down, each month, how much revenue do I need to bring in? Am I keeping my expenses tight enough so that I'm maintaining that profit margin? So there's a lot of numbers that you can monitor as you're growing your business or just maintaining your business, depending on where you are in your business and where you want to be. And ensuring that things are still running smoothly. Getting that feedback from your financial reports is so valuable because your numbers don't lie. They tell you what's going on in your business.
So when I hear that, it makes me think, how in the world do I accurately project out 12 months in the future? Like, as an example, I could say, well, I'd love to do, and I can just pick a number out of thin air, but what do you advise your clients to help them project out accurately? Because if you project out too much, then now you appear like you didn't hit your goals. But if it's too little, then you can hold yourself back.
Exactly. So it's really important to use that acronym SMART, those SMART goals, creating those SMART goals where they're, specific and measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely, right? And so it's important not to set up yourself up for failure. You create reasonable goals where you're projecting, like say in month 1, you're like, okay, this is where I'm at, and it seems reasonable to achieve this increment in revenue, right? And then you're going to adjust your expenses that are going to reflect that increase in revenue, because there's always expenses going with increasing revenue. And then you just build upon it month by month, and you keep it realistic where, like, let's say you're making $100,000, in your first year and you want to get to 10 million in the second year. Well, that seems a little crazy, and you really have to figure out if that's achievable or not. And my guess is for most companies, it's not likely going to happen, but you measure it out with that forecast and get those plans down on paper or in Excel, whatever, way you want to do it. And it gives you that plan. And once you get that plan down, you see what's actionable and what's realistic and what isn't. And it's really important to measure your progress against that plan. So it's not just that you create a plan, it's that you're going to measure how your results are comparing against that plan month by month.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing there. It's not like a box you check off and go, cool, I did it. You've got to have periodic, whether it's daily, monthly, weekly, but quarterly minimum, but how are you doing against that? And then do I need to adjust? And like, man, I nailed that goal. We're already surpassing this milestone. So maybe we need to tweak the projection, or maybe, we lost this client. We now need to adjust this aspect, or we had to have a capital expenditure for equipment, or whatever the case is. How do you advise your client, or how do you encourage your clients to make sure they're doing that? Because the worst thing in the world is to have those projections and goals, and then you're not measuring up against that. But how do you make sure that they're going to do it?
Absolutely. This is a great question. I mean, this is sort of the meat and potatoes of the service too, right? Where we sit down and we review these financial reports on a minimum of a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And measure, have those specialized reports where it shows you in one column where this is what you actually came in at, and the next column is what you had planned on, and it shows you the variance, and then you do that investigation to understand why you didn't meet your projections, or if you did and you exceeded them, then that's great. You also want to know what's working well so you can capitalize on it.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about, your work with business owners. Do you find, and this one, I interviewed the CPA once, and they mentioned this, I don't know, what do you call them? But in the, 4,000 pages of the IRS tax code, there's, some things that business owners tend to forget about as far as opportunities or write-offs or ways to structure things. Do you get into working with your business owners to go, hey, you know what? Now that I've rolled up my sleeves and dug in here, what if we, and you're strategically guiding them on, hey, maybe you should hire a family member. Maybe you should. What are some creative ways that you can help them structure their business so that they're really creating wealth for their business as well as their family?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely need to consult with a tax accountant in your state and country, whatever you're working out of. And what I do is I work at that as that intermediary between a tax accountant and myself, and we create plans to optimize their tax strategies. Like getting the best financial plan, including your tax saving strategies and optimizing them, are the best thing you can do for your business. Because as a business or as a business owner, you're in a unique position where you can create your wealth through your business. And it's important to take advantage of those perks or whatever, however you want to call them, those tax strategies, so that you're optimizing your wealth.
Yes. And I like that idea of optimization, because it's not just having the thing or having the foundation in place. You've got to optimize it. You've got to make sure that it is firing on all cylinders, or, that it's everything is tweaked to the max. And I think that's a huge piece. And I know on your website, you've got the 5-step roadmap to business finance freedom, and having someone come alongside the business owner like yourself and guide the process. To me, that is something that is way different than, someone's going to come in like a bull in a china closet and say, stop doing this, start doing that. And then they're out of there and leave you in disruption in the business. But, I love when I hear, give me a blueprint, give me a roadmap. So talk a little bit about that roadmap that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as the CEO of your business, you don't need to know everything like an accountant does, right? So the 5-step roadmap is really an outline. It gives you a framework of what you need to understand as a business owner, because even though you've got financial people working with you, it doesn't give you an excuse to check out of what's going on in your business, right? I always argue that once you understand how your business numbers work, it helps you, because as the CEO, you're the primary decision maker. All the decisions rest on your shoulders. So if you don't understand how your decisions are affecting the profitability in your business, that's a red flag, right?
Yes.
So it's really important to have that roadmap and understand what it is you need to know so that you can function as the best version of the CEO you can possibly be.
It reminds me of that story you hear, and I suppose it's true, but like Henry Ford, way back in the day, was in court, and they were like, well, tell me this and tell me that. And he was like, I don't know. And they're like, well, how come you don't know? You're the owner of the company. He goes, look, with one press of a button, I can bring in an expert on my team that does know. So you're the one that needs to understand the concept behind your business. You need to know that, but you don't need to be the expert in it. You need to surround yourself with the people who are going to be that, that guru and expert. So talk a little bit about, do you advise your clients within the structure of their company with gathering that team and making sure that team is really vibrant for them?
Absolutely. I mean, we want everything running really well. And what I do as CFO, I'm the most senior person in the finance group of that business, but I'm there to give the CEO the information they need to make the decision. So I'm a firm believer in making informed decisions. So not only are they working with the team, but they're understanding what the team is directing them to do, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in business that doesn't affect your bottom line. So if you're making decisions just, well, so-and-so told me to do this, and I don't know how I ended up losing $1 million. Well, the thing is, nobody knows your business better than you do. And if you understood the decision that you're being guided towards, you may have figured out ahead of time that that was not the best decision for your business.
Yes. Yeah, that's well, and you know what's the old saying too? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So don't get in trouble and then call somebody and say, let's fix it. Yeah. Why don't we kind of look ahead and see what could happen and put some things in place to prevent it?
Exactly. I mean, your finance team is there to support you in your vision, but as I mentioned earlier, ultimately, you're the one who owns the vision. You're the one who understands your business the best. So you really need to be involved.
So if a business owner is involved and they bring in someone like yourself and go, tell me what are some things that we should put into place to prevent, XYZ, right? And then you start working on that, but then inevitably a hiccup happens and there's a mistake or something is going on that derails them. What do you do to move past that without kind of beating yourself up as a business owner going, oh, I just, messed this up, or maybe it does derail them and this quarter is off? What are some of the strategies or even mindsets that are helpful in that case?
Yeah, I love that you brought up mindsets because the first thing is mistakes happen. We as business owners, we are making mistakes. They happen. And the thing that you need to do is learn from that mistake, right? Take the information from that lesson so that you can prevent it from happening again. Yeah. But chances are you're going to make another mistake along the way, right?
Yep.
It's the nature of business. As best we try, we're still human, right?
Yeah, and you know what? We could talk for about another 4.5 hours on mindset alone, and it really is. You've got to be resilient, and the only thing constant in life and business is change. I mean, we know all of that, but sometimes we get in the weeds and you still beat yourself up and, you get into the moment. So I think that's a really big piece of things is you got to remember that as a business owner, you need to be that strong anchor and rock for more than just your business, because you've got your family depending on you and you have all of the families of your employees. So you've got a lot riding on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, you can plan out the best that you possibly can, and it's so important to be proactive and be on top of your decisions. But sometimes things go wrong and you just course correct. You can't let it, derail you.
Yeah. Well, neat. It's been really cool talking with you. I love your approach to business. What's the best way that someone listening to this talk could reach out and learn more about your blueprint and your roadmap and learn about how you help out as a fractional CFO?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can reach me at my website, melissahoustonCPA.com. And right off the bat, you'll see on the homepage, you can download the 5-step roadmap to Biz Finance Freedom that gives you that framework so you understand what you need to look at as the CEO of your business. And if you're on LinkedIn or Instagram, you can follow me at Melissa Houston CPA.
Awesome. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.